Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So for this video, I'm going to talk about Kanye West and his interview on Drink Champs. I'm going to talk about, the statements that he made about George Floyd. And I'm going to talk about the reaction to that interview, the reaction of people like Boyce Watkins and even Minister Louis Farrakhan and others around this particular interview. Also, I want to deal with this whole question of anti-Semitism in the Black community. So during this interview, and I didn't see the entire interview. I watched numerous clips that are all over social media. I've seen articles about this particular interview. I've seen enough. And during this particular interview, Kanye West talks about George Floyd. And basically, he says that George Floyd was not killed by the police officer. He claims that George Floyd died from fentanyl. That's what he claims. And here's my simple response. There was a trial in this case. Evidence was presented. The prosecution presented evidence. The defense counsel argued against the evidence and tried to present counter evidence. And the fact of the matter is, a jury found that that officer killed George Floyd. They found that that officer murdered George Floyd. And despite what Kanye West is saying, all the evidence points to the fact that George Floyd was killed by that officer. Kanye West wants to pretend like, the officer's knee wasn't even on George Floyd's neck like that, quote unquote. That officer had his knee on George Floyd's neck for over 8 minutes while his brother was screaming out that he can't breathe. While people in the crowd, bystanders, were pleading to this officer to get his knee off of George Floyd's neck, this officer kept his knee on his neck, and that is why that officer was found guilty. But here you have Kanye West promoting this ridiculous false narrative put out here by Candace Owens. And we all know what kind of person Candace Owens is. She is a coon, and let's just be blunt. This woman is a coon. This woman is a Aunt Jemima. This woman is a Negro bedwench. This woman is a white supremacist in blackface. This is the same woman, again, who defended that officer that killed George Floyd. This is the woman who demonized George Floyd. This is the woman that defended those racist white supremacists that killed Ahmaud Arbery. She defended those monsters. She made excuses for those monsters, and she demonized Ahmaud Arbery, painted him as some kind of criminal while she defended the actual criminals who were responsible for that brother's murder. This is the kind of woman that Kanye West is basically following behind. This is the kind of woman that has Kanye West wearing some White Lives Matter shirt, using the slogan of white supremacists. So there's nothing pro-Black about defending police brutality. There is nothing pro-Black about using a white supremacist slogan. But here we have these quote-unquote pro-Black buffoons like a Boyce Watkins on here defending Kanye West. On here basically attacking Noriega for making an apology. And let's be perfectly clear, despite what Boyce Watkins is trying to present, Noriega primarily was concerned about the family of George Floyd and how they would react to the situation when he issued that apology. So it had nothing to do with the issue of quote unquote anti-Semitism. His apology was primarily focused on the statements that Kanye West made about George Floyd. That's what he was focused on. And I don't understand how any pro-black person can defend that, can defend this man's usage of a white supremacist slogan, can defend this man's defending a police officer that killed George Floyd and had his knee on George Floyd's neck for over 8 minutes. How can you find yourself defending this guy? How can you find yourself supporting this guy? It's like some of these people are so blinded by their anti-Semitism that they will rally behind somebody simply because they make some anti-Semitic statements and there's a backlash behind that. They will rally behind them and paint them as some kind of Malcolm X figure. I actually was on Facebook and somebody said that this buffoon Kanye West would have made Malcolm X proud. Nothing could be further from the truth. This man literally sold out his people for attention, sold out his people so he could sell some t-shirts, sold out his people for white love and white validation, but yet these people are holding him up and defending him and celebrating him when they should be condemning him. He is a sellout. He has sold the black community out, threw the black community under the bus. And I'm glad that George Floyd's family has decided to sue this man for the statements that he made about George Floyd's death. Basically suggesting that George Floyd was acting, when he was crying out and stuff like that. Basically downplaying his suffering by saying that the officer's knee wasn't even on him like that. What kind of person makes this kind of statement? But then this is coming from Kanye West, a man with a history of making some of the most ridiculous statements about black people you've ever heard, like slavery was a choice, like Harriet Tubman didn't free the slaves. And also when he was on that, one of those interviews, it was on TMZ, he also made statements praising Hitler. Not only is it anti-Semitic to praise somebody like Hitler, it's anti-black because Hitler hated Jews and black people. Hitler thought Aryans were superior to black people. He thought that black people were inferior, but yet and still, this buffoon Kanye West made statements praising Hitler during his interview on TMZ. But this is the man that some of y'all are defending. This is the man that some of y'all are rallying behind and making excuses for. And, and that's one of the things, like, it's just disappointing with Farrakhan, like how he is, Kanye West made these anti-Semitic statements and all of a sudden you got Farrakhan defending him. Despite all the other stuff that I said about Kanye West, despite everything that I said, despite the fact that Kanye West was tap dancing and buck dancing for Donald Trump, Kanye West makes some anti-Semitic statements and people want to act like this Kanye West is some black militant now. Kanye West is some spokesman for black people now, and he's some courageous man. That just shows you how blinded some of our people are by their own anti-Semitism and bigotry. And the fact of the matter is, Kanye West is only black when it's convenient. Only black when it's profitable. Only black when it benefits him. He's talking all this black rhetoric, this black rhetoric of victimhood and stuff like that, while he's embracing white lives matter, while he's making excuses for police that kill black people. But some of y'all are so blind, deaf, and dumb that you're buying into it. You're buying that rhetoric, despite the fact that he's thrown black people under the bus. Despite all of that. And, it's just a shame, man. Kanye West is trying to play the role of a victim. He's trying to play the role that he's some kind of victim of some kind of white supremacist, some kind of Jewish conspiracy, etc. And I don't buy into that. I don't buy into that crap, given the fact that this guy, how you going to play the role of a victim when you are some billionaire, when you call yourself the quote unquote, richest black man in history? How are you some kind of victim of some kind of conspiracy? That's total nonsense. Complete and utter nonsense. And this is my message for all these fake woke people, these fake militant people, these conspiracy wackos and stuff like that, feed off of anti-Semitism. They love anti-Semitism. And it's like, you can't be against bigotry and support anti-Semitism, because anti-Semitism is bigotry. You can't be against prejudice when it comes to black people and defend prejudice when it's against Jewish people or other races of people. That makes you out to be a hypocrite. That makes you out to be inconsistent and contradictory. And that's unfortunately the situation with some of our people, using derogatory terms to refer to other groups of people, using terms, and I won't even say them, but using all these derogatory slurs against other people. But if someone were to use slurs against you, you would be outraged. So it's like, by doing that, you lack consistency. By doing that, you lack moral authority, and you just look like a flat out hypocrite. And unfortunately, that's the situation with some of our people. And the funny thing is, a lot of these people that promote this anti-Semitism and hatred of Jews and stuff like that, a lot of them are these black Hebrews, or people that believe that African Americans are the real Hebrews and this and that. And it's like, I just find it odd that you want to be like the very people that you hate so much. You hate Jews, but you want to be Jewish. And the fact of the matter, that's a whole nother discussion. You want to be Jewish, you want to be Jewish, but you don't even speak Hebrew. That wasn't even the native language of Africans that were brought over here in bondage. But you want to cling to that false identity, this identity to just some kind of Hebrew. And so anyway, man, you get my point, man. It's just like, I just think it's hypocritical for black people to embrace anti-Semitism and bigotry, because the truth of the matter is, when you do so, you are finding yourself in the company of white supremacists. You are finding yourself making the same arguments as white supremacists. And, that's just the fact of the matter. So anyway, those are some quick thoughts about the situation. And, with respect to some kind of conspiracy, I think that people have the right to exercise their power. There are consequences for people saying certain things. Like if somebody says something racist, we want there to be consequences. If somebody uses, some official uses the N-word or makes derogatory comments about black people, we want there to be consequences, and rightfully so. Like that situation in Los Angeles when you had some woman on the city council making racist, anti-black statements. People were glad to see her resign. People put pressure on her to make her resign, and she was forced to resign, and rightfully so. And so I don't have any problem with any group using their political weight or their organizational skills to take action against people. It's better to have that kind of power than to just be able to complain on YouTube about something. Like, while we're just complaining about things that Kanye West said and, things that he does, other people are actually doing things about what he says and does. They're willing to forego and sacrifice in order to make their point. Like you have Chase Bank, rejecting millions of dollars from Kanye West in order to make a point. And people can go into like the hypocrisy of, policies of Chase Bank all day and all night. But we need to find ourselves in a position where we can do that. Kanye West has thrown black people under the bus for so long, and we just keep going with it. We keep buying his goofy looking shoes and his other clothing. We continue to buy his music and celebrate him and recognize him while he constantly throws black people under the bus. At some point, we need to hold these people like Kanye West accountable. There have to be consequences. He needs to be canceled. His black card needs to be revoked. So those are my thoughts about this. Tell me what y'all think. Please rate, comment, subscribe, like the video, share the video, and hit that notification bell so that you'll know when I post new content on here. And again, before I go, if you enjoy reading great books and having great discussions about the Black experience here in America and around the world, join our book club, New Possibilities Book Club on Facebook. Our next book will be Octavia Butler's Parable of the Talents. We will be discussing that on October 30th at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Check it out. I will post the link in the comments to this video and in the description to this video. So with that, peace and blessings. Have a good evening.